Okay, we are now really, really pleased to introduce band Stewart, who is our next speaker and demo chef. The topic of sprouted grains has been one that has been very, very interesting to everybody recently. We had Peter Reinhardt, the very well-known baker, show some sprouted grains at our last conference, and it was so interesting, exciting. We knew we had to get another equally renowned expert back up here to talk about sprouted grains. And we were really excited to have Ben because one of the misperceptions is that, oh, down south, they just won't do this whole grain thing. And we saw in the data that we got presented this morning that it's not necessarily a geographic thing. And Ben, who has worked his professional life in the South, is going to tell you, if you know how to cook these things really well, they will come flocking for it. So Ben's going to do two exciting recipes for us today. He is going to show us a sprouted einkorn beer bread. And then we're also going to have some lemon lavender cookies made with sprouted brown rice flour, I believe. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you, Ben.
I'll give you a first quick detail of how To Your Health sprouted flour came about. Peggy Sutton, who founded this company, she wanted to find a better means of healthier food. She had several people in her family that had heart disease, diabetes, and all this. This all came from highly refined product and flour, less whole grains and all that. So what she did a lot of research, and she kept diving deeper and deeper and deeper and finding that the best way for a human to eat is go back to the pre-industrialization age. And that's where she found that sprouting was a natural process in the field from the farmer. And so what she started to do, she started sprouting in mason jars. And she was doing this research all on her own. She was drying it. She said, okay, let's see if we can mill it. And it smelled good, it looked good, so she started turning it into breads and pastries. And her friends wanted her to make some more of this stuff, so she built a commercial kitchen in her barn and got certified, got licensed and all that. Started sending it to CSAs. People started loving it. People wanted her to do it more and more. These people wanted her to actually mill the flour for her. So she said, heck with making breads, why don't I just make the flours? Why don't I provide these grains and sprout them all there in-house? So her and Jeff, her husband Jeff, they got really, really big. They moved out of the barn. They built a facility, and they have automated the sprouting process that is designed just for them. They have an automated drying process. And it's all scientific. I'm not too privy with all this information. I just cook with the product. And now the third building expansion, they have several big clients, Kellogg's, Kashi's, one of them. They provide to several other different companies. How I came about working with this company is my wife's family. And I was a chef. I like to play around with food. That's what chefs do. We like to see if things work and all that. So I just picked up a bag or two and took it home and started working with stuff. One of these recipes, this lemon lavender cookie recipe, is one of them that I came up with. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I took a recipe from somebody else that's very similar, but I had to alter it. Sprouted flour reacts differently. It has different hydration rates. It has different temperatures. It has different times. It took me years and years and years to try to figure out these exact times to be able to tell somebody at home saying this is what it is. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to play a little make-believe since there's already stuff in this mixer. So we're going to call this a mixer right now. So what I have is room temperature butter, 1 cup of organic sugar. Generally, you use a paddle attachment for this. For time's purposes, I'll just do this real quick. We got 2 eggs. Generally, at To Your Health, we like to use everything organic since we're an organic company. We source a lot of stuff from CSAs and local farmers. So we like Peggy, especially likes beautiful organic farm eggs. So we'll put in those 2 eggs, mix those around a little bit. Generally, you want this to be light and fluffy, where you get a nice light and fluffy cookie. But for time constraints, we're just Going to go with this. Brown rice. We got 1 3/4 cups of brown rice. Generally, I didn't know how to use brown rice. A lot of chefs have come to me saying, what do you use with brown rice flour? One, if you have somebody who's gluten-free and they do want fried food, batter it in that. That's worked really well for some of my friends. A lot of times you can put them in pastries, cakes, pound cakes, cookies, and this recipe we're using a cookie. So we'll go ahead and stir this up a little bit, make everything combined. So if you just had this cookie right here, it would taste like cooked brown rice. It has really no flavor. So my wife and I, we were kind of thinking around, I was like, what can we do? She loves lavender. What goes well with lavender? Lemon. Lemon goes really well with lavender. So we went to the store, we found some dried lavender flowers, and we started playing around, started dumping them in there. One key thing is with lavender, if you add too much, it's going to taste like a purple Fruit Loop. Kids will love it. Adults, not so much. People who are health conscious, probably not. So what I've come up with, you do 2 teaspoons dried lavender. You can adjust the recipe how you want. This is what kind of worked for me and worked for us. Dump that in. Stir that around until everything's combined. And once you have this nice little dough, you'll get... Let me go ahead and mix this up a little bit more. All right, so you're going to have a nice firm dough. What I use is a little scoop, a little silver scoop that some chefs know. Put it on a dried greased sheet pan. Bake it at 350, depending on the oven. As we all know, some people have convection, some people have conventional ovens. So that's going to change your time and all that. This is what the oven I use at the restaurant. I bake it at 350 from 7 to 8 minutes. So once you do that, you're going to have this lovely little biscuit-like cookie. We're going to have some later on this afternoon. Kids love it. When I first came up with this, I did 3 different recipes. I did a chocolate chip, did an oatmeal, and I did a lemon lavender cookie. And I used to work at this country club, so I went out to the pool deck with this platter, and I let all these kids try them. The number one cookie that they liked was this lemon lavender cookie, which surprised me because kids love chocolate chip. And what even surprised the parents more was that this was healthy. This was gluten-free. This is something that the kids could have a little more extra, and they're not going to be too worried about their health or ruining their appetites and whatnot. So we have those cookies, and now what my favorite recipe is a sprouted einkorn beer bread. Einkorn is an ancient grain. When baked, it's very earthy, it's very malty. When you combine it with the beer, it adds a completely different flavor. I use an Alabama beer since we're an Alabama company. It's Truck Stop Honey Brown Ale. It is made with Alabama wildflower honey. So we'll go ahead and get started with this. So have our butter, and what we'll do is we'll put in the einkorn. Doing this really quick. So we got 1.5 cups einkorn, 1.5 cups whole wheat. Einkorn, being an ancient grain and the properties it is, it's not as high in gluten as what a wheat would be. So I add half and half wheat to get that glutinous effect out of it. So I already have baking powder within the flour. I do not use any yeast. This is more like a quick bread. The baking powder is what helps it rise. A lot of people think that the yeast from the beer is what helps it rise. It's not. It's the carbonation from the beer that gives it the fluffiness and the airiness of everything. So, all right. So we'll go ahead and add our butter right here. We'll mix this up. Very simple recipe. This is something that a lot of people should have at home. And if, I wouldn't say einkorn, you're normally going to have it in your pantry, but we do sell it. We'll ship it to your door. All right, so we got that. add a little bit of sugar, 3 tablespoons of organic sugar. Dump that in there. Yeah, it looks pretty dry right here. So if y'all can see that. So that's where the beer comes into play. One of my favorites. I love this sound. All right. So go ahead and pour that in there. It's going to get really, really foamy with all that beer, that yeast working with the flour. So just stir it up till it's really combined. You don't want to over fluff this thing. Like I said, it's a quick bread, and most of us know quick breads of muffins, biscuits, stuff like that. You don't want to really overwork it. So I wish y'all had smell-o-vision. This thing smells wonderful. So, all right, we'll just keep stirring this up. This has become a favorite recipe of my wife and I, and especially our family. We turn this bread into burgers, like burger buns. We use as toast, and we'll do open-faced sandwiches. It's got a very unique flavor, and a lot of our friends really like it too. All right, so quick purposes here. I'll go ahead and I'll mash this around a little bit, incorporate that flour. I mean, you can see we're not looking at the gluten pain. We're not doing any of that. We're not getting really scientific. This is something quick and easy you can do at home. So you get this, go ahead and put it in the pan, a greased pan. Flatten it out a little bit. This will rise. Not much, but it will rise. So what I do is I have basically a cake tester. Some chefs use them as fish testers. It's a little blue thing, looks like a toothpick or a paper clip. I put it in the oven. Generally put it in the oven about 375 for 20, 25 minutes. I pull it out. I check it. If it needs more time, put it back in. Pull it out. Let it sit on your cookie sheet that you're cooking on till it cools. Then take it off and put it on a rack to let it cool some more. It's going to be nice, light, and fluffy in the middle of it, but on the outside it's going to have this nice, buttery, hard crust. And I love it. It's delicious. So I got one here that I made earlier. I'll show you all the inside. If you kind of look at it, it looks beautiful bread right there. It still has some of the air bubbles, air pockets that's formed from the beer. And if y'all smell it, we're gonna taste this later on today. Once you smell it, you can smell that earthiness, that maltiness of the Einkorn. You also smell the honey, a little bit of the hops from the beer. It's something really, really good. The alcohol content is mostly cooked out. There is a little bit in there, but you will not get drunk off my beer bread. I promise you that. But I also want to talk briefly about applications in the restaurant. I work in a restaurant, and I've been trying to find ways of getting whole grains into the restaurant. I know we deal with a lot of home cooks with To Your Health, but my wife and I, we travel around Alabama. I know quite a few chefs. We drop off some product. We give them some recipe ideas. They call us back saying, "Oh my God, this product is wonderful. Where can we get more? Can you come and help us work with this more often?" And it's one of those scary things with chefs that they get this product in, and being sprouted, organic, non-GMO, and all that, it does come with a hefty price. Us chefs, we have to try to find everything to be cost effective. We want to make it available for the customer, but we also want to keep our numbers down. We want to keep our food costs down. So that's where getting the whole grains into restaurants and certain stuff, there is a barrier, and we're trying to break those barriers. And I'm helping do that. And conferences like this, what Cynthia and everybody else is doing, is wonderful in educating people how to use this product. There's tons of information you can find out. There's all the data essentials that Mark was talking about earlier. But the main thing is, how can we get this into a restaurant? how do we make this available? How do we make it useful? And on our website, we have plenty of recipes that we have shared to use this sprouted product, which has helped many people. I'm open for emails. Anybody wants to have a question. I've worked with this for 4 or 5 years, almost every single product we have, and I'm still learning. And that's the thing. Chefs are always learning. And I'll go back to my baseball coach. He said, once you stop learning, once you think you learned it all, stop your profession. Stop what you're doing. So I love working in the kitchen. I mean, people come up and bring me all sorts of stuff. And it's wonderful working with Peggy and my family, getting to be able to do this research. So thank you all for your time, and look forward to talking to you all later.
I have one question
Yeah.
for you. What are there other sprouted grain dishes or whole grain dishes that you have on your menu at Kowaliga?
It's Kowaliga.
Kowaliga, okay, sorry.
We use a lot of the grits. That's very southern-esque in the brain. They see grits, they're like, okay, we'll have it. That was another thing, trying to educate the customer, because we have it on there, sprouted grits. And people were hesitant, like, what?
They're going to have little
what
green
is
leaves in
sprouted?
them or something?
Like, what are y'all doing back there? I was like, no. I hand them a pamphlet and let them know and see what the health benefits are. I'm sure most of us here know what the health benefits of sprouted are. And if y'all don't, we'll be happy to talk to y'all later. I've also done green pea. We do a sprouted green pea flour. I do a green pea pasta. It turns out really, really well. I've done pizza with the black bean flour. It's just, there's so many different applications that you can do. And it's fun. It's fun educating my staff. It's fun educating our guests, because people down in the South, we're little, I wouldn't say slow, but we're kind of behind the times on trends. West, Northeast, they always pick up things a little bit bigger and faster than what we are. So it's fun being at kind of where we are and educating these people on the health benefits and this new trends that are coming out.
Would you say that the sprouted grits taste different? How did you describe the profile compared to a traditional Southern grit?
I'm not going to knock any farmer friends of mine because they produce a wonderful grit. Mostly Southerners think of grits as like white corn. We use the yellow corn grits as most people call it polenta, but it's all in the how you use it. I use a lot of good organic heavy cream in mine, organic butter to make it really fluffy. The taste of the sprouted grit is by far way above than like a traditional corn grit. So the taste benefits, the health benefits definitely outweigh what you would find somewhere else.
Great. Other questions for Ben? Anything else?
All right. Yeah.
You used a 12-ounce can.
Mm-hmm.
Do you scale the recipe for larger volume and use draft, or do you see a difference with draft versus can or bottle?
The recipe I always come up with is with 12 ounce. So obviously, if you're going to double the recipe, we'll have 2 beers. So, but it's one of those that I use the Einkorn. I figured out the hydration of the Einkorn, and I figured out with a 12-ounce beer, it worked great. You may have to use, like, if a 16-ounce beer may work better if you want something that's a little bit more poolish consistency than as thick as what my dough is. It's one of those. I mean, I see you wearing a chef coat. I'm sure it's playing around. Recipes aren't exact. My dean in my culinary school said, do not go with those recipes exactly, unless you're a bread baker. I mean, that's scientific, but anything else, you're not reinventing the wheel, but kind of turn it into your own. I mean, that's how we as chefs, we kind of separate ourselves from somebody else. Escoffier is the one who wrote the book on everything, and I'm not doing the exact same recipe as Escoffier with like that. So I've kind of molded it to my own. So I'd love to sit down and talk with you later on. So.
Question over here.
Yeah.
Chef, I also have a question about the beer. First, though, North Florida, go Knowles.
Yeah, go
You rock.
Knowles, rock on.
Yep, but also about the beer, I'm interested in the wildflower honey.
Yeah.
Because that honey can change from
It
batch to
can.
batch, right? So does the flavor of the beer change enough that over time that it changes the nature of your
It
end
does. So this is a good friends of ours. This is a local craft beer in Alabama, and they sell by date and they have batch numbers on everything. But they try to source from this one apiary as much as possible. I could go on and on about this beer another 30 minutes because that's how passionate I am about it. But they are very locavore mindset, which I've noticed a lot of Alabamians are becoming very locavore. They support the local farmers. They support local cattle, chicken, beer vendors, all that. And what's great is they're helping support us also. They see that we source most of our grains from the Midwest. We bring it in, we sprout it, we dry it, we mill it, we package it, and we ship it all out in-house. We don't have anybody exterior. The only thing we do exterior is getting our grains, and somebody else makes our bags. And that's basically it. We do all of our own PR, all of our own marketing. So it's a really well-ran, woman-owned company. Peggy owns this company, and she started it from the ground up. And it makes you feel really, really good working for somebody who's that passionate. And in turn, it makes you that passionate also. So.
Great, thank you very much, Van.
Yeah, thank
we
y'all.
met Peggy. We met Peggy 4 or 5 years ago when she first started getting involved with the Whole Grains Council, and it really was an inspiring story. This idea of the mom and pop, only actually the mom who's at the kitchen table, literally the mason jars on the windowsill to start this off, and now she has this major business that's employing people in her region and supplying large companies like Kellogg. So it's very inspiring. While we're changing over to the next demo, I wanted to mention that a few things that Ben didn't mention about sprouted grains, and I would hand the mic to Don Troba at Ardent if he were here, because Ardent is doing a lot with sprouted grains too, and I heard one of their research scientists present at a grains conference a couple years ago, and what they've found is very interesting. Because the sprouting process changes the nature of the sugars and starches in the grain, you can often change in a commercial bakery so you don't add extra sugar. So we can cut down on the sugar with sprouted grains when we're baking with them. Because they will actually rise better than unsprouted grains, we can often cut back on the addition of vital wheat gluten, either partially or totally. They happen to proof faster. So the barriers we were talking about this morning about, oh gosh, could a commercial bakery really sit around and wait for this stuff to rise that long? And could we do it more of a traditional way, give it enough time to come into its own? Or do we have to add all these dough conditioners to rush it along? You can get a much cleaner label bread and still do it within the constraints of what a commercial bakery sees as their mandate to just get the throughput of product with a sprouted flour. So it's really a very interesting phenomenon. And then you have other health and nutritional advantages to the sprouted grains too. We got quite a bit on our website. I know there's other information on To Your Health Sprouted Grains, Sprouted Flours website too. So look into sprouted grains. It's a really interesting phenomenon. So I see we're setting up. I'm not going to overbabble this time. We are setting up for our next demo. We're moving from the world of baking and flours to the world of intact grains.